Hello, my name is Archie, Dinh, and from EIQ29, the little house in the big woods. Once upon a time, 60 years ago, a little girl lived in the big woods of Wisconsin, in the little gray house made of logs. The great dark trees of the big woods stood all around the house, and beyond them were other trees, and beyond them were more trees. As far as a man could go to the north in a day or a week or a whole month, there was nothing but woods. There were no houses. There were no roads. There were no people. There were only trees and the wild animals who had their homes among them. Wolves lived in the big woods, and bears and huge wildcats, muskrats and minks, and others lived by the streams. Foxes had dens in the hills, and deer roamed everywhere. To the east of the little log house, and to the west were miles upon miles of trees, and only a few little log houses scattered far apart the edge of the big wood. So far as the little girl could see, there was only the one little house where she lived with her father and mother, her sister Mary, and baby sister Carrie. A wagon track ran before the house, turning and twisting out of the sight in the woods where the wild animals lived. But the little girl did not know where it went, nor what might be at the end of it. The little girl was named Laura, and she called her father Pa and her mother Ma. In those days, and in that place, children did not say father and mother, nor mama and papa, as they do now. At night, when Laura lay awake in the trundle bed, she listened and could not hear anything at all but the sound of the trees whispering together. Sometimes, far away in the woods, in the night, a wolf howled. Then he came nearer and howled again. It was a scary sound. Laura knew that wolves would eat little girls, but she was safe inside the solid log walls. Her father's gun hung over the doors, and good old Jack, the brindle old dog, lay on guard before it. Her father would say, "Go to sleep, Laura. Jack won't let the wolves in." One night, her father picked her up out of the bed, and carried her to the window so that she might see the wolves. There were two of them sitting in front of the house. Looked like shaggy dogs. They point their nose at the big bright moon and howled. Jack paced up and down before the door, growling. The hair stood up along his back, and he showed his sharp, fierce teeth to the wolves. They howled, but they could not get in. The house was a comfortable house. Upstairs, there was a large attic, pleasant to play. And when the rain drummed on the roof, downstairs was a small bedroom. The big room had two windows, right?
The bedroom.
The bedroom had a window that closed with a wooden shutter. The big room had 2 windows with glass in the panes, and it had 2 doors, a front door and a back door.
Các bạn hay thích.
All around the house was a cooking trail, fence to keep the bears and the deer away. In the yard, in front of the house, were 2 beautiful big oak trees. Every morning, as soon as she was awake, Laura ran to look out of the window. And one morning, she saw in each of the big trees a dead deer hanging from a bare branch. Pa had shot the deer the day before, and Laura had been asleep when he brought them home at night and hung them high in the trees so the wolves could not get the meat. That day, Pa and Ma and Laura and Mary had fried venison for dinner. It was so good that Laura wished they could eat it all. But most of the meat must be salted and smoked and packed away to be eaten in the winter. For winter was coming, the days were shorter, and frost crawled out the window panes at night. Soon the snow would come, that the log house would be almost buried in snowdrifts, and the lakes and the streams would freeze in the bitter cold weather. Pa could not be sure of finding any wild games to shoot for meat. The bears would be hidden away in their dens where they slept soundly all winter long. The squirrels would be curled in their nests in the hollow trees with their furry tails, wrapped snugly around their noses. The deers and the rabbits would be shy and sweat. Even if Pa could get a deer, it would be poor and thin, not fat and plump as deers are in the fall. Pa might hunt alone all day in the bitter cold in the big woods, covered with snow, and come home at night with nothing for Ma and Mary and Laura to eat. So as much food as possible must be stored away in the little house before winter came. Pa skinned the deer carefully and salted and stretched the hides for he would make soft butter for them. Then he cut up the meat and sprinkled salt over the pieces as he laid them on the board. Standing on end in the yard was a tall limb cut from a trunk of a big hollow tree. Pa had driven nails inside as far as he could reach from each end. Then he stood up, put the little roof over the top, and cut a little door on one side near the bottom. On the piece that he cut out, he fastened letters hinges. Hello, my name is Archie, Vuong, EIQ number 29, and I hope you had a great holiday. And today is Food Festival. Today I would like to read Little House in the Big Woods, page 7. So let's begin. After a deer meat had been salted several days, Pa cut a hole near the end of each piece and put a string through it. Laura teach him to this, and then she watched him handle the meat on the nails in the hollow log. He reached up through the little door and hung the meat on the nails as far out as he would reach. Then she watched him handle the meat on the nails in the hollow log. He reached up through the little door and hung it on the nails as far up as he could reach. Then he put a ladder against the log, climbed up to the top, moved the roof to one side, and reached down inside to hang meat on the nails. Pa put the roof back again, climbed back down the ladder, and said to Laura, "Run over to the chopping block and fetch me some of those green hickory chips. You clean white meat." So Laura ran to the block where Pa chopped wood and filled her a pot with the fresh, sweet-smelling chips. At the little door in the hollow log, the fire of tiny bits of bark and moss, and he laid some of the chips on it very carefully, filtered and filled the hollow log with thick chocolate smoke. Pa shut the door, and a little smoke squeezed through the cracks around it. The little smoke blew out through the roof, but most of it was sheltered with the meat. There's nothing better than good hickory smoke, Pa said. That would make good venison. That will keep anywhere, any weather. Then he took his gun and swinging his axe on his shoulder, he went away to the clearing to cut down some more trees. Laura and Ma watched the fire for several days. When smoke stopped coming through the crack, Laura would bring more hickory chips, and Ma would put them on the fire under the meat. All the time, there was a little smell of smoke in the yard, and when the door was opened, a thick smoky meat smell came out. At last, Pa said the rooster had smoked long enough. Then they let the fire go out, and Pa took all the strips and pieces of meat out of the hollow tree, Ma wrapped each deeply in paper, and hung them in the attic where they would keep safe and dry. One morning, Pa went away before daylight with the horses and wagons, and that night he came home with a wagon load of fish. The big wagon box was filled full, and some of the fish were as big as Laura. Pa had gone to the lake fishing and caught them all in the net. Ma cut a large slice of flaky white fish without one bone for Laura and Mary. They all feasted on the good fresh fish. All they did not eat fresh was salted down in the barrels for the winter. Pa owned a pig and ran wild in the big woods, living on acorns and nuts and roots. Now he caught it and put it in the pen made of logs to fasten. He would butcher it as soon as the weather was cold enough to keep the food frozen. Once in the middle of the night, Laura woke up and heard a pig squealing. Pa jumped out of bed, snatched his gun from the wall, and ran outdoors. And Laura heard gun go off once, twice. When Pa came back, he told what happened. And he had seen a big black bear standing beside the pig pen. The bear was reaching into the pen to grab the pig, and the pig was running and squealing. Pa saw this in stretched starlight. He fired quickly, but the light was dim, and his face, well, he missed the bear. The bear ran away into the woods, not hurt at all. Laura was sorry Pa did not get the bear. She liked bear meat so much. Pa was sorry too. He said, "Anyway, I said the back. The garden behind the little house had been growing all summer. It was so near the house that the deer did not jump the fence and eat the vegetables in the daytime. And at night, Jack kept them away. Sometimes in the morning there were little hoof prints among the carrots and the cabbages, but Jack's track was there too, and the deer had jumped right out again. Now the potatoes and carrots and the beets and turnips and cabbage were gathered and stored in the cellar for freezing nights had come. Onions were made into long ropes buried together by their tops, and then were hung in the attic. Besides wreaths of red papers sprung on bread, the pumpkins and the squashes were peeled in orange and yellow and green. Heaped in the outer corners, the barrels of salted fish were in the pantry, and yellow cheese was snacked on the pantry shelf. Then one day, Uncle Henry came riding out of the big woods. He had come to help Pa butcher Moss Big Butcher Knife was already sharpened, and Uncle Henry had bought Aunt Polly's butcher knife. Near the pig pen, Pa and Uncle Henry built a bonfire and heated a great kettle of water over it. When the water was boiling, they went to kill the hog. Laura ran and hid her head on the bed and stopped her ears with her fingers so she could not hear the hog squeal. That doesn't hurt him, Laura, Pa said. We do it so quickly. But she did not want to hear him squeal. In a minute, she took one finger cautiously out of an ear and listened. The hog had stopped squealing. After that, butchering time was great fun. It was such a busy day with so much to see and do. Uncle Henry and Pa were jolly, and there would be spare ribs for dinner. And Pa had promised Laura and Mary the bladder and the pigtail. As soon as the hog was dead, Pa and Uncle Henry lifted up and down in the boiling water till it was well scattered. Then they laid it on a board and strapped it with the inside and left in the hammock to cool. When it was cooler, they took it down and cut it up where there were hams and shoulders, sliced meats, and spare ribs and belly. And there was the meat, there was the heart, and the liver, and the tongue, and the head to be made into ham cheese, and the dish and full of fish to be made into sausage. The meat was laid on a board in the back store shed, and every piece was sprinkled with salt, and hams and shoulders were put to pickle and bread, for they would be smoked light. The bladder it made a little white balloon, and he tied the end tight with a string and gave it to Mary and Laura to play with. They could throw it into the air and pass it back and forth with their hands, or it would bounce along the ground. They could kick it, but even better fun than a balloon was a pig's tail. Hus skinned it before them carefully and into the large, and he first the sharpened stick opened the front of the cook stove and raked hot coals out into the iron hearth. Then Laura and Mary took turns holding the pig's tail over the coals. It slits and fried and drops a fat strip of it and lays on the coals, not sprinkled with salt. Their heads and their faces were very hot, and Laura burned her finger. But she was so excited she did not care. Hosting the pig's tail was such fun that it was hard to play fair, taking turns. At last, it was done. It was nicely brown. And how good it smelled. They carried it into the yard to cool it, and even before it was cool enough, they began tasting it and burned their tongues. What? They ate every little bit of meat of the bones, and then they gave the bones to Jack. And that was the end of the pig's tail. There would not be another one till next year. Uncle Henry went home after dinner, and Paul went away to his work, the big ones. But for Laura and Mary and Ma, butchering time had only begun. There was a great deal for Ma to do, and Laura and Mary helped her. The next Ma was trying to add the lard in the big iron pot. On the cook stove, Laura and Mary carried wood and watched the fire. It must be hot, but not too hot. The big pot was little simmered and boiled, but they must not smoke. From time to time, must steam out the brown crackling. She put it in a cloth and squeezed out every bit of the lard, and then she put the crackling away. She would use them for flavor to flavor johnny cake. Later, cracklings were very good to eat, but Laura and Mary could have only a taste. They were too rich for little girls. Ma said, "Must scrap and clean the head carefully." And then she boiled it till all the meat fell off the bone. She chopped the meat fine with her chopping knife in a wooden bowl. She seasoned it with pepper and salt and spices. Then she mixed the pot with liquid with it and set it away in a pan to cool it. When it was cool, it would cut in slices, and that was head cheese. The little pieces of meat, lean and fat that had been cut off the large pieces, Ma chopped and chopped until it was all chopped fine. She seasoned it with salt and pepper and with dried sag leaves from the garden. Then, with her hands, she toasted and turned it until it was well mixed, and she smothered it into balls. She put the balls in a pan out in the shed where they would freeze and be good to eat all winter. That was the sausage. When butchering time was over, there were the sausages and the head cheese, the big jars of lard, and the kegs full of white salt pork out in shed. And in the Arctic, the smoked hams and shoulders. The little house was fairly brushing with good food stored away for the long winter. The pantry and the shed where the cellar were full, and so was the autumn. Laura and Mary must play in the house now, for it was cold outdoors, and the brown leaves were falling from the trees, and the fire in the cook stove never went out at night. Pop fainted with ashes to keep the cold alive till morning. The attic was a lovely place to play. The large, round, colored pumpkins and beautiful chairs and tables, the red pepper and the onions dangled overhead, and the hams and the venison hung their papers, wrapping in all the bunches of dried herbs, the spicy herbs for cooking, and the bitter herbs for medicine, gave of the place a dusty, spicy smell. Often the wind howled outside with a cold and lonesome sound, but in the attic, Laura and Prairie played house with the squashes and the pumpkins, and everything was snug and cozy. Mary was bigger than Laura, and she had a rag doll named Nettie. Laura had only a coat of wrap and a handkerchief, but it was the good doll. It was named Susan. It wasn't Susan's fault that she was only a coat of. Sometimes Mary let Laura hold Nettie, but she did only when Susan couldn't see. The best times of all were at night after supper. Pop brought his traps in from the shed to graze them by the fire. He rubbed them right and grazed the fingers and the jaws and the springs of the pants with the feather tips in the bear's graves. There were small traps and middle-sized traps and great bear traps with teeth in their jaws that Pa said would break a man's legs if they shut onto it. While he grazed the trap, Pa told Laura and Mary little jokes and stories, and afterward he would play his fiddle. The door and windows were tightly shut, and the cracks of the window frames stuffed with clothes. He kept out the cold, but Black Susan, the cat, came in when she played day and night through the swinging door. The cat's hole in the bottom of the front door. She always went very quickly, so the door would not catch her tail when it fell shut behind her. One night, Pa was grazing the trap.